All right, let's now shift our focus to some news from India, where after his Ahmedabad roadshow was cancelled, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has decided to take a much more spectacular route in Gujarat. The Prime Minister will be taking off from the Sabarmati River in a seaplane and will land at Dharoi Dam's pond. Now, he's also expected to visit the Ambaji temple today, and the Prime Minister had tweeted about this plan and also added that since airports cannot be built everywhere, about 106 waterways have been planned in the country. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be taking off in what has been dubbed a seaplane after having cancelled his rally in Ahmedabad. Now, he's terming this as development that the Congress cannot even imagine, and this of course, is a part of the imagery that Prime Minister Narendra Modi wishes to put out as a part of his campaign in Gujarat. Now, he said that we cannot have airports everywhere, so our government has now planned to have these seaplanes. The campaigning for the second and the final phase of polling will, of course, end at 5 p.m. So 93 constituencies will be voting in the second phase of the Gujarat elections. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will reach the Sabarmati riverfront, and we expect his convoy, which is making its way up. These are live visuals that we are getting of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's convoy, which is making its way up towards the Sabarmati River. And Prime Minister Modi will board what is dubbed as India's first seaplane, which will take off from a river's surface, and he'll be flying to the Dharoi Dam in Mehsana district, from where he'll then head off to offer prayers at the Ambaji temple. A pretty spectacular and a very interesting way of capturing the attention of the voters just ahead of the day of voting. It'll be interesting to see as to how the people in Gujarat will, of course, view this. Will it be seen as showmanship or another great example of brilliant leadership on the part of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, where some spectacular visuals are expected? So what you see on the right of your screens, of course, is the kind of a seaplane which Prime Minister Modi will be boarding. It's not unusual for a scene like this to have been spotted in movies, but it appears that this is the first time that a plane like this, a seaplane like this, will be used in India for the purpose of normal commuting. And of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also become the first person to use a seaplane in India. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his convoy is making his way up towards the Sabarmati River. It's the final phase of polling ahead of the very crucial Gujarat elections. He's cancelled his rally in Ahmedabad, and this is a new sort of campaigning that Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is known for his very novel and unique ways of campaigning, he's of course going to be boarding that sea flight. He'll start from the Sabarmati riverfront and he will be heading over to the Dharoi Dam in the Mehsana district. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi has just stepped out of his Toyota Land Cruiser there, and he'll of course now be walking up towards the Sabarmati riverfront, where he'll be boarding this seaplane, something that a lot of people would have seen, of course, in movies, but this, of course, is going to be a reality for people who can afford transportation of this nature, where seaplanes will now be made the norm. And of course, Prime Minister Modi has said that airports, because airports cannot be built everywhere, so the government has in fact planned to initiate seaplanes, and this of course is being done as a part of campaigning ahead of the final phase, the second and the final phase of polling in Gujarat, where about 93 constituencies will of course go to cast their vote. So Prime Minister Modi is all set to board a seaplane. For the very first time, something like this being used for a normal commute. Stuff such as this has been seen in movies before quite regularly, but for the first time, this is being used for a normal commute. But also, let's point out that this is also a part of campaigning ahead of the second and the crucial phase of polling in Gujarat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi again highlighting his extremely novel and unique ways of campaigning, something new that he brings to Indian politics, something that has invigorated Indian politics in ways that others may not have imagined. He's not your conventional politician, but someone who's been described as almost unbeatable in recent years. And for more on this, we are joined in by our National Political Affairs. So we'll be joined by our National Political Affairs editor in just a bit from now. I'm told that we have him with us now. So Kartikeya, this is an interesting form of campaigning, something almost James Bond-like, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be boarding this seaplane, which will now be used for the very first time in India. This kind of stuff has been seen in movies before, but not for regular commercial commuting. Do you think this is good way to capture the attention of the voters in Gujarat?
I think these are like photo ops. Narendra Modi that way has created good photo ops in 2014. So he's aware of the power of social media. He's aware of the power of technology. He's aware of the fact that new things should be tried. For example, the White Lotus, which created a lot of controversy, or even the suit boot ki jibe, which happened, though that backfired. But the fact of the matter, he tries new things. So now, you would remember, he before he took oath, he went to Nepal, Pashupatinath temple, and he was there. Everything was beam live. He didn't say a word, and he came back to New Delhi. So that's part of Narendra Modi. You have to give it to him in that context. That he has been far ahead of his political rivals. Though Rahul Gandhi certainly has caught up with him in Gujarat, but nationally he is far ahead. So today the importance is that Gujarat elections are closing in. Now Gujarat elections have been fought as if it's a referendum on the national government, which I don't think it is. Secondly, the Gujarat elections have been fought on international issues, which in itself is very, very fascinating. And Gujarat election has a unique blend of Hindutva, Gujarati nationalism, economy, GST issues, and then you have a different Rahul Gandhi in Gujarat also, who you would not see in 2014 going to temples. I don't think there's been any day that Rahul Gandhi has not gone to a temple. So I think that little bit of credit in this context also goes to Modi, that he has effected a change in which the Congress is campaigning, something which is reminiscent of the Congress of the Indira Gandhi days, or it's reminiscent of 1970s, where it was not an issue. So now today he's going to Ambaji, the Prime Minister. Rahul, on the other hand, had gone to a different temple, and those live visuals were beamed. So this election also boiled down to religious imagery, it boiled down to nationalism, it boiled down to dynasty, it boiled down to Pakistan, it boiled down to everything, but perhaps the local issues of Gujarat. But then, when elections are about Gujarat, the home state of the Prime Minister, you can imagine how high the stakes are. Perhaps the stakes are even higher than Uttar Pradesh, higher than Bihar, and even higher than Delhi. So now you can see
he's just gone into the flight. He's just gone into the flight.
Yes, and this is basically Sabarmati front. It's a 10-kilometer where the water is capped. The Sabarmati water is capped. Not much of water flows after it or before it, but then it has beautified the city front. Unlike Delhi, where we could have done that, but he has been able to do that. But only thing is that you have cement banks. So you have 10 kilometers cement bank, but life acquires its own dimension. So what the city has done is, it has become a place for morning walk. It has become a place for jogging, for lovers to come down in evening, or old couple to
take a
witness
stroll.
A rising sun in morning. So this riverfront has acquired a different meaning for old people, lovers, voters, the politicians, normal people. So the property prices of the riverfront they have went up by fourfold. Earlier it was dirty, no one would buy property there. Now it's one of the most beautiful places. But what the surprising part is that this is a very open area. On the other side, Saleh is the Muslim-dominated area. So it also tells you about the geographical matrix of the way Ahmedabad split after 2002 riots. So and this is the western side on which this whole programming is being organized, which is slightly the cleaner side, where you have the esplanades and the better constructed buildings, and And Ambaji is one temple which is revered in North Gujarat. And let me tell you, there have been times that Sonia Gandhi has either ended her political campaign in Gujarat or started a political campaign by going to Ambaji temple.
Right.
So Ambaji temple that way cuts across political leaders. And for him to do this and to end the campaign at Ambaji, for Rahul Gandhi to end the campaign there in another temple, goes on to show how different our politics has become in 3.5 years.
Absolutely. You know, Kartikeya, I've followed politics and campaigning very closely for the last 20 years, but I've never seen something like this. This is something extremely unique. He's kick-starting the use of seaplanes on a commercial level in India. He said that about 100 plus sort of these sort of services will be initiated. Do you think with this kind of a narrative that has taken place in this campaigning in Gujarat, the face of Indian politics has changed almost pretty much forever? There are issues that would have perhaps never come up. We expect the flight to, of course, take off anytime soon. It's almost like a scene out of a James Bond movie. And we have our Indian Prime Minister there, which is getting the attention.
What surprises me is, you know, if I remember correctly, the SPG manuals, which have been part of the public, there was a in 2004-05, there was a crash in which Jindals and 2 other politicians of Haryana died because they're traveling in a single-engine aircraft. You know, what really surprises me is that the SPG has allowed Prime Minister of this country to fly in a single-engine aircraft.
Right.
It really surprises me. I really don't want to impute any meaning to it, but I have rarely seen any Prime Minister in my lifetime to fly in a single-engine aircraft. You know, because generally it should be double engine,
right,
or it should have some sort of a mechanism. In say, for example, you know, when you are in the when you go with the Prime Ministers, generally our commercial airlines take an elliptical flight.
Right.
You'll be very surprised to know that the flight of the Prime Minister is never elliptical. It is straight. From touchdown to lift, it is a straight. It just goes straight in a 90-degree angle. You know, these are the security protocols, you know. So that's pretty surprising, you know, to see this. But nonetheless, and that too to be done in Sabarmati riverfront, middle of Ahmedabad. The traffic has not been stopped. You can see
Absolutely.
see it. The traffic has not been stopped. So I'm pretty surprised how are they managing to do this. But I, you know, it's not. I'm not surprised because he surprised anyone when he took off that bulletproof shield when he went to the Red Fort for the first time after taking oath as the Prime Minister, and his Prime Ministerial address was without a bulletproof shield, and he was not even wearing a vest. So that way, yes, he's been pretty.
You know, in many ways, it's been a trend setter, and what we are seeing are almost unprecedented visuals of a campaign for an election, you know, of such a crucial election being done in this manner. You know, some people have also said that perhaps he cancelled his Ahmedabad rally because there is a certain sense of jitteriness for the BJP for this crucial election. Do you agree with that narrative, or is this Prime Minister Modi at his imperious best, where at this particular point of time in Indian politics is almost unbeatable?
See, both Amit Shah and Prime Minister have given their best when it comes to the election. The best has already been given. Issue is not that. Issue is there was supposed to be a roadshow. Now that roadshow is not being organized. Yes, obviously BJP is jittery, or why else they would have spoken about Pakistan, dinner at Mani Shankar Iyer and stuff like that. Because if you go to Gujarat, the election is not being, opposition has not challenged Bharatiya Janata Party on its nationalist credentials or its cultural credentials. BJP has been challenged in Gujarat. You'll be surprised to know, Saleh, on primarily economic issues, on issues of education. But you have to give it to BJP that BJP within the Indian context has been able to harness its primary members down to the down to the primary healthcare center,
right,
down to the primary schools where teachers who are ideologically affiliated go out and campaign for the party and come back. That is the power of Bharatiya Janata Party there, which Congress, so it's a surge versus party machinery right now. But to the party machinery, the biggest campaigner is Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and that's what differentiates today Narendra Modi with any other national politician, that he is a national vote catcher. And the problem for the Congress is that Rahul Gandhi has not proved himself to be a vote catcher.
That is...
The day he proves himself to be a vote catcher, he will become a legitimate politician.
But in all fairness, I think Rahul Gandhi is slowly shuffling his way towards becoming that consummate politician. We expect the flight to, of course, take off any minute now. So Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in almost an unprecedented style, something which is likely to capture international headlines as a part of his campaigning. Ahead of this crucial second phase of elections in Gujarat, he has boarded this Seaplane. This is an amphibious plane, is what we're given to understand. And what Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said, that with this he'll also be kick-starting the commercial use of flights of this nature for people to commute, stating that because it's not possible to build airports everywhere, so wherever there are these seafronts or wherever there are these rivers where it is possible for planes, these amphibious planes, to land, this sort of an activity can indeed take place. Karthika, just coming back to the way in which the campaigning has been done, you know, Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2014, I remember he spoke extensively about the Gujarat model of development, and perhaps this Sabarmati viewfront is perhaps its prime example of development that has taken place there. But do you think it's been unusually quiet about the Gujarat model of development in this particular election campaigning in Gujarat?
Yes, see, BJP has been quiet because they understand that that's something which is putting them on back foot. But I'm really very surprised, you know, I have to come back to these visuals, you know, for the Prime Minister to end it on a seaplane, that to a single engine aircraft, between, you know, Ahmedabad city is connected with multiple bridges. And I really don't understand, you know, this pilot is going to actually take off between two bridges.
Right.
You see, he started from the one bridge on the left hand side, he's going to go to the other bridge on the right hand side. The Prime Minister is sitting inside. I have only seen one SPG person go inside. Apart from that, he must be accompanied by his private secretary. I don't think it's more than an 8-seater. The traffic has not been stopped. It's taking a U-turn and it's going to fly to Ambaji where there is not much of water. You know, I think this is the best publicity.
You know, this of course will get international headlines. Something like this, it's
this
unprecedented.
This is the best photo op, you know. For all said and done, whatever the results of Gujarat, whether BJP loses Gujarat.
Will this be the defining image of Prime Minister Narendra Modi
like
as his...
Whether BJP loses Gujarat.
Will this be the defining image of Prime Minister Narendra Modi
like
as his Gujarat?
Giving everything to your election, Saleh. It's like giving everything to your election. It's like Rahul Gandhi doing a Richard Branson parachuting it, you know, to Porbandar and saying, I have come for the rally. You know, he takes a seaplane.
Do you think Rahul Gandhi will take a cue of that? Will he parachute like Richard Branson? That also is a possibility.
Rahul Gandhi has already taken a cue. You know, when I was in San Francisco 3 years back and I was asked by a gentleman, he said, what's the difference between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi? I said, Prime Minister Modi started his political career by assisting politically, because his career started way back in RSS, by organizing the first phase of Gujarat Yatra. So he started from temples and now he's visiting all the startups in San Jose and San Francisco. He's the Facebook headquarter, and when Rahul Gandhi, on the other hand,
so
started his life from
to just take off, Karthikeya. These are interesting visuals.
Visiting every temple in India after losing elections. So that's the difference.
Absolutely, indeed. So the plane is gathering speed as it makes its way on the water runway. This is something that's not been used commercially in India, but now from here onwards, with this kickoff, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has used this for his campaigning. Of course, the flight is now taken off. So it's very interesting, the trajectory the plane is taking. The traffic has not been stalled on the bridge that you see there. So it'll just take off just meters above from over the bridge. An unprecedented sort of imagery, something that will gather international headlines. Prime Minister Modi, who's known for his unusual, novel and brilliant ways of campaigning, has put forth perhaps the image of what it means for campaigning in Gujarat.
There were two bridges, and the takeoff took place between two of them, and there was you know, they were practicing. They also practiced at touchdown once. So, you know, nonetheless, you know, we'll get to see when he lands at Ambaji. Ambaji is a very beautiful temple in Gujarat. You know, it's situated on a mount. And it's revered by both tribals and other communities. So the reference to Ambaji, in fact, is one of the most important religious centers when it comes to the northern part of Gujarat. And as even Sonia Gandhi used to start and end a political campaign from Ambaji.
Absolutely, indeed. So these are the visuals from the Sabarmati river front. This of course, is the visual which Prime Minister Modi had in fact sold, talking about the development in Gujarat. And we'll leave you with these visuals. We'll slip into a very short break. And on the other side, we'll come back and we'll continue tracking this story further. Stay tuned to WION.